Deep war. The Trump tension in the USA is a step that affects every center closely, even though we are not aware of it. It's not a matter of who or how Trump relates to. The issue is the storm that broke up in the USA over Trump. And this is a struggle much more than we thought. As a result of this fight, what will happen to the USA, what shape the world will take, Russia's position in China's future will be determined. When these stones fall into place, Turkey will naturally take a suitable position for itself. Let's get a little closer to the developments that are never talked about and unknown but will have global consequences. While Trump was elected, half of the US states stood up. I can't say CIA, not all because. But the whole of the FBI and part of the NSA jumped out of control. He broke Trump's relationship with the Russians. Everyone was registered. Before Trump came to the White House, it was recorded who did what with whom. I've written before. The Jeffrey Epstein incident did not attract attention in Turkey. It is not known. Epstein was a much larger and more important figure than one might think. For example, Evergreen Aviation, known to belong to the CIA, was managed by Epstein. He was the owner. There was one more important event that you couldn't ignore as a name similarity. Recall that a while ago a huge container ship lay on its side in the Suez Channel. Global trade blocked. The challenge has been read. So what was the name of that ship? Yes. It was Evergreen too. What the Evergreens do is another matter. An area that should be looked into with a special effort. When you lift the cover of the business, the place you go is NORA's commission. There is more. Continue. Trump has also been in a relationship with Epstein since he was a teenager. This is not the SIR. But Americans don't know much. Epstein is a sign. Just like Soros. The back is not known and is not talked about. However, Epstein was in such an important traffic that it was taught in schools. This network, including intelligence groups, was as powerful as you can imagine. For example, J.P. Morgan, Rothschilds, Sassoons, Kaduris were here. Neither BlackRock nor Larry Fink were far from here. Dozens of banks and organizations, hundreds of important business people were included in this school. Like Elon Musk. The fact that Elon Musk took Twitter and embraced Trump was the result of this balance. And hitting the New York Times. Twitter also kicked Trump out of the system. This school, which came over Trump, was playing to the balance of 5G in China in the world balance. Just as after the Second World War, the United States and the Soviets established a balance, so now those who say let's get China on the other side of the balance belong to this school. Names like Jeffrey Epstein, Harvard Chemistry and Anthony Fauci were the minds behind COVID-19. They wanted to establish the new balance through the crisis with the economic shake. And when this happened, everyone would claim their assigned role. That would be it anyway. The deep side of the USA he ruled that Trump is a global actor, in which Chabad Lubavitch also plays an important role, through names such as his son-in-law Kushner, his partners Felix Sater and Tevfik Arif. He identified himself as the figure to be watched and liquidated. Nat. This was the real truth behind Trump's house being raided, his being forced to follow up, maybe his arrest. He shot President Kennedy, who said USA should take Germany instead of Soviets in global balance. The job was a field of conflict that opened the door to very deep corridors far beyond what we thought. And the country that this would not affect was limited. The claim that Russia got involved in the elections. Trump was elected was actually a statement that a power within the USA was working with this EKOL. The arrival of Trump meant the shaking of the global balance, the laying of plans, and the opening of the way for the project of the other side to bring China. This had its shadows reaching both England and Germany. Trump meets with Putin in Helsinki, after which he says, "I believe the Russian leader." His explanation satisfied me. When he spoke, all hell broke loose. The Russia file was taking a different turn. On top of that, former CIA Director Joe Brennan called Trump a traitor. When Trump heard this, he did not take a step back and escalated the discussion. With former CIA Director John Brennan, Robert Gates, George Tenet and Leon Panetta, as well as former top officials from the FBI and Pentagon, ended access to confidential information. James Clapper, the former head of National Intelligence, and James Comey, the former head of the FBI, had their share of this ban. In other words, there was a deep war in the USA that we never knew. This would determine the future of the USA and how it will survive, as well as the stances of China, Russia, and Europe. Naturally, the way of Turkey. Jeffrey Epstein was killed because he was an important witness to all these intersections. This is why the storm that broke out in the world over China and 5G. If there is no improvement in the economy, if the US does not get results with interest rate hikes, if the economic trend goes down, the use of nuclear weapons is on their agenda. Or a new weapon we don't know about. Assassinations. The war in the USA is the most important front of the global war. There can be no one that he will not impress. He will not. I think it would be beneficial to listen to this scenario and take a position. Do not think where Turkey is in this business. We are in it like everyone else. In one way or another. The fight, which started in the depths we never knew, continues with regional war and economic shock after COVID. The big of the war is one of the greats at the table. I think